Hi! Welcome to Surviving Schizophrenia with Steven. My name is Steven. I hope you are having a wonderful day. I want to address the question, do headaches lead to psychosis? Now this is an important question, especially to me, because my headaches did lead to psychosis. Now I want to read 2 comments I received on my previous video, which was all about depression and my recovery from my depression, and they inspired this video. So alright, first off, we got from Confidence Builder Group. Hey, thank you Steven for sharing all that. It takes real strength and character. I wonder what the nature of the headaches were for you. Were they centered in one part of the brain head? Was it a throbbing pain? Etc. Also, I got another comment from Danya Al-Bassam. I hope I'm saying that right. When did you have the headaches and start losing your memory? How long before the illness started? So those are great questions. I want to say thank you for leaving those comments. And yeah, so the headaches, they were like head-splitting kind of headaches. Mostly in my temples and inside of my head. And they were just like, it varied at time. Sometimes it felt like I was being hit in the head. Other times it felt like there were fiery needles being pushed into my head. It was debilitating, and it stopped me in my tracks from doing pretty much anything, at least anything productive. I would generally, it would happen at school, and well, it would happen all the time, but when I was at school, I would always be in the nurse's office, just lying down on their bed there for hours on end. And I do remember at times it would just vanish for a short period of time. And it would seem like almost I was faking it, which obviously I wasn't, but you wouldn't know because it would kind of stop that quickly. But then it would come back very suddenly after. And these headaches were constant. I believe at the time I was staying up till about 3 a.m. Probably very well due to the pain. And of course that was the beginning of my onset of my schizophrenia. So there was a lot more going on in my head at the time than I even realized. Or anyone else around me realized. And yeah, so how long before the illness started did I have these headaches? About 2 months or so. 2 months after that, I was psychotic. And I was very much so had schizophrenia. I believe even at that point, that was around the time I was admitted to the UCLA Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital for 2 weeks. Now, I remember this must have been around that time of when the headaches began, that I couldn't really perform as well on the swim team, which I was on at the time. That was pretty rigorous training where I would go to the pool, actually funnily enough, at the high school right next to my house, and we'd do laps and training like that, learning how to dive properly, dive through these hula hoops, and I was not able to continue that because of the headaches and eventually my schizophrenia. And I remember them wondering at the time, were the headaches due to dehydration? Which would have made sense. So I remember actually talking with my mom or my dad, I don't remember exactly, to my swim coach about that. And I remember him saying it's probably just dehydration. Of course, it was not just dehydration, but we didn't know that at the time. And I remember going to Little Company of Mary. It's a local hospital not too far from my house, where they examined me. This was around maybe 2 a.m. Because like I said, I was staying up late at those times, and I was in so much pain. My parents were like, okay, let's go to the hospital. We gotta do something about this. And I remember I brought a book there, and they were really nice from what I remember. But what I remember most was that they gave me morphine. They didn't know what else to do, right? You're in pain, you have headaches. Couldn't figure out why. Obviously they had no idea it was the beginning of my schizophrenia. What are we gonna do? Well, numb the pain. That didn't quite work out that way. it didn't quite numb the pain as much as make me not care about the pain. It was a weird feeling. I didn't like it. I did not like that feeling. I thought everything was just funny. And I still had pain, I just didn't care. And I remember my dad was taking me back from the hospital back home. I must have been 5 or 6 a.m. at the time. And there was a police car going by with the sirens, woo, or however that goes. I don't think it makes that sound. But I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. I was like, that's hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing. I think my dad started laughing too. He was laughing so hard. Getting a tangent here, but that was not a good feeling. I didn't like that. And of course, I still had the pain. So now I want to bring on my dad. He has printed out a lot of my medical records from the time. Again, that was 2012 and March specifically up until around the time I was hospitalized and a little after, which was again March 2012. And he will give some better insight into what was happening at the time. So let's have him on. He's going to come right now. All right, today, come on over.
Hey, Stephen, how you doing?
Good. Happy to have you on this video.
Well, Stephen, thank you very much for having me back on your channel.
For sure.
I'm Stephen's dad. So Stephen was describing when he was put on morphine. He's describing an incident that occurred, or care that he received rather, at Little Company of Mary Hospital on March 6th, 2012.
Yeah.
And Maria and I took Stephen in about 1 o'clock in the morning. He was there for 4 hours. Yeah. Severe headaches. These headaches have been going on for about 2 weeks. And we couldn't get a resolution. As Stephen said, they'd come and go. Mm-hmm. He was going to school for an hour or two, then he'd come home. And we were just cycling through. I mean, this. And Stephen was reporting some strange behavior during this time. So they were serious headaches, but also, mentally, Stephen wasn't doing well.
So I don't really remember this. Can you jog my memory a little?
It's just, something was off. This was, and maybe it was just a lack of ability to concentrate because of the headaches. But let me show you what. So this is Little Company of Mary Hospital in Los Angeles County, March 6th, 2012. Now this was 2 months before Stephen's hospitalization. Mm-hmm. He goes in and we were at the emergency room. They performed a CT scan of the head. That was unremarkable, but he had serious headaches. Yeah. And in order to, kind of cut through these headaches since they had been going on for 2 weeks, they said, look, we're going to give him a morphine drip. Yeah. I don't know how much they gave him. I think a small amount. Yeah. But this is what, when he was discharged that morning after 4 hours, these are his medical records, March of 2012. The cause of your headache today is not clear, but it does not appear to be the sign of any serious illness. Well, of course, that's not true, unfortunately. No. It turned out to be an incredibly serious illness, schizophrenia. Yeah. So the headaches did precede Stephen's psychosis. This is the form that we received, Headaches Unspecified, from Little Company Mary Hospital. It's a major hospital in Los Angeles County.
It's a very big hospital.
So one would have hoped in hindsight that Stephen, there would have been a better diagnosis there. I know it was just the emergency room, but he was there for 4 hours. They did a CT scan. And then they send him home with us that it does not appear to be any sign of serious illness. Well, this is how quickly it became. Within 21 days of that, within 21 days of that emergency room visit, so simply 3 weeks later, this is what his psychiatrist said. This is 3 weeks later. Stephen had not been seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist before this. No. Before the onset of these headaches, and nor did he have a history of headaches. So I think one of the takeaways, I think it was an important takeaway from this video. I'll just jump to that right now. I think it's important. Is that Stephen's headaches preceded his psychosis. Of course, headaches don't always precede psychosis, but headaches, can be caused, and I think in Stephen's case, by stress. I think this was stress related, and it was not so diagnosed then at the ER. So it's a red flag.
It's exactly a red. That's exactly what it is. It's a red flag. For me, the headaches were right at the beginning of my schizophrenia and my psychosis. But I think for anyone, if they're having severe headaches and if they're having severe headaches of any kind, that could be a red flag to something further. It doesn't have to be mental illness, but it could be something.
Right, precisely. And that's why I think, I'm going to reread the statement again. Coming out of the ER, they said, the cause of your headache today is not clear, but it does not appear to be the sign of any serious illness. I wish they would have left that last portion of the sentence off, because they didn't know.
No.
And they were speculating at that point.
Right.
And, not that it didn't really cause us to do anything differently, but I wish they would have said, look, wow, okay, this has been going on for 2 weeks now. Okay, CT brain looks clear. We got a serious situation here. We've got to put him on morphine drip to get him home. So
that's true.
Enough about that. But 21 days later, after the doctors there say that does not appear to be a serious illness that Stephen has, the psychiatrist says, Stephen has been under my care for the treatment of a complex neuropsychiatric disorder since March 27th, 2012. This is a letter that the psychiatrist wrote to UCLA in June in support of his hospitalization in May.
Yeah.
And I mean in support of the reason for the hospitalization, the justification for the hospitalization, so that the insurance the insurance company would be persuaded to pay for the hospitalization. That's why this letter was written. But Stephen has been under my care for a complex neuropsychiatric disorder since March 27, 2012. Hospitalization, the ER visit is 21 days earlier, where they're saying doesn't appear to be any problem, not a serious illness.
Shows how fast things deteriorated.
That's how quickly they deteriorate. That shows how quickly. And the psychiatrist further writes, while he initially presented with depression, and this would be March 27, 2012, his clinical picture quickly deteriorated and was characterized by psychotic symptoms. So you can see how quickly this, Stephen's condition deteriorated. And what we now can say, looking back, is this was the prodrome stage of schizophrenia, where Stephen undoubtedly in response to stressors in his life was developing headaches, and then this schizophrenia is a complex neuropsychiatric illness.
He became suicidal at that point as well.
Right. So things did drop quickly. So that's why we would say that Stephen suffers from sudden onset childhood schizophrenia. Yes. It didn't occur over 2 or 3 years or even 12 months. No. It hit within over the course of maybe the psychosis occurred in the end of March. And so Stephen that had headaches preceding that for maybe 3 weeks, and then some memory issues at the same time.
Yes.
So those are some of the medical records, and then a note that we have as parents. If we skip forward, then same year 2012. So he's hospitalized we're talking about March at the ER, and then the psychiatrist. It was the end of March of 2012. Mm-hmm. Hospitalization in May, and then now let's skip to August. A few months later, still 2012. On August 16th, Stephen had been admitted to the CAPS program at UCLA, CAPPS.
Yes.
It's out of the Neuropsychiatric Institute at the University of California, Los Angeles. Not the hospital. That's actually at the university.
They do amazing work and research into schizophrenia.
Right. So Stephen was in a research program there for 4 years. And they interviewed us and Stephen on videotape even, and did a whole battery of psychological testing and other research over 4 years. We'll cover this in more detail in other videos. But one of the notes that we as parents have for August 16th, this is the point I want to make. So hospitalization in May, he's discharged after 2 weeks. So August, a few months later, August 16th, we write regarding pain at CAPS videotaped interview. Stephen complained of sharper pain, but not as often. His effect was flat, and he had no interest in school. Right. So here we are, with serious headaches really at the beginning of March, or really mid-February. It occurred about 2 weeks before that. It was,
That's true.
So from February, now we're through the hospitalization in May. We're in August 2012, and he's in a research program at the Neuropsychiatric Institute at the University of California, Los Angeles, and he's got we're in a videotaped interview with Stephen. I think that one was with us. There were several videotaped interviews that CAPS did there at the Institute, with Stephen alone and also with us as parents, as to how we were dealing with Stephen's severe illness with childhood onset schizophrenia, which had been diagnosed at that point as such. And so there it is. You're complaining of sharper pain, but not as often. Flat effect, no interest in school. So things had really dropped. So the onset. So that is one of the I guess that's the takeaway. Again, is that it's a red flag. Headaches aren't going to always result in psychosis.
No, but in my case, they did.
Yeah. So to answer the question, do headaches cause psychosis? Well, I would answer it in this manner. Headaches can be caused by, among other things, severe stress. And I think in Stephen's case, it was stress related.
You're right.
And that can be a precursor to psychosis. And that was Stephen's case. So Stephen's headaches did precede his psychosis. And I think Stephen also would be very interested in your comments about this, about headaches, psychosis. Many of you that are following Stephen's channel have said you have schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder.
Which, real quick.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. I think that's really important, and my goal of destigmatization, if you feel comfortable, obviously, to share. Because as we share, we can teach others about it. And in that way, I think that helps to destigmatize.
Yes, I totally agree, Stephen. Yes, and then, so I would encourage you as well as Stephen to continue sharing, obviously, in the comments section, and be very interested in hearing. So we have, there's also parents and caregivers, and how did the onset of, if you're a mother or father or brother and sister or cousin maybe, and you're someone that has fallen into psychosis or schizophrenia, that developed into schizophrenia, how did that psychosis, what preceded that psychosis? I would be interested in knowing that.
Of course, don't share if you're not comfortable.
Right, of course.
Just want to make that clear.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Yes, absolutely. Want to respect everybody. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So what, headaches and psychosis.
Yeah, for me it led to it.
Yeah.
And it definitely is a red flag if someone is having, especially if it's more out of the blue, headaches. Because you don't know really what's going on. And that could be anything from being bullied at school, right? A lot of kids might get a headache or a stomach ache, right? Because they're being bullied at school. So it's not just necessarily mental illness, but if someone's like your child or even you are having a headache, it could, a severe headache I should say, it could be a sign of something larger.
Yeah.
So just want to get that out there.
That's great, Stephen.
Yeah. So with that, we hope you have a happy and healthy rest of your day. And we hope to see you in the next video.
Have a great day. See you in the next video. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.